Never let your stamina hit 0 or hit full during a chase, as it means you're going to end up leaking stamina. Same with zigzagging. Make sure you hug walls as tightly as possible and you run as straight as possible at all times. Try your best to never run into the corners or the dead zones of the map, because by the time you go there, you've already lost the chase. Stamina regens faster the higher it is. Burning 40 is always going to make it so you have more stamina than if you were burning 80 and then regenning. This means at the start of a chase you want to run to get 90 to 85 stamina and then let it regen. This banks stamina for later when you won't get a regen window. The core cycle is stamina into distance and then turning distance into stamina. Keep that loop going for as long as possible, while making sure you have enough distance so you're not walking for too little for it to be worth it, and not walking for too long to where you're taking unnecessary hits. Health is reserve distance. When the killer eventually gains advantage on you, taking them one on your own terms buys you enough distance to restart your cycle again. And against some killers, like especially Slasher, not taking a hit often kills you a lot faster than before. For example, Raging Pace, if it starts right on top of you and you have no distance to regen, it's always going to be a death sentence for you. Always make sure you're counting the killer's stamina, because if it's a killer like John Doe, taking a hit when you're going to outrun them anyway is going to be a waste. The biggest object on the map isn't always the best loop. When you're choosing a loop, you want to focus on visibility and size. If you have a large and medium-sized loop, and the medium-sized loop has full visibility and the large loop has no visibility, you're going to want to choose the medium-sized loop in a lot of cases. You also want to try to pick a loop closer to the center of the map so you can chain to other loops easier and have clear exit options instead of getting dead zoned if the killer chase resets. This allows you to drag chase away and not allow them to get a clean reset on you. Choosing based on size, visibility, and chaining potential is always going to be best. Against killers, especially like John Doe, Nosferatu, or Cruel Kid, staying on the one loop is always going to get you cut off by their trapping abilities. This is when loop chaining becomes especially important, but before committing to an object, ask 3 things. Is it big enough to survive a chase reset attempt? Do I have realistic plays, and do I have good visibility on it? Chaining away from a loop because you're against a trapper killer just to run into a dead zone is going to get you killed either way. Ideally plan at least the next object you're going to run to before you have to run to it though. Good pre-runs win chases before they even start. Use footstep audio through walls to track killers on loops with poor visibility. And move to the furthest opposite part of where they're running. Once you have a pre-run advantage, don't overstay. Letting the killer double back on you undoes everything you do though, so you want to try leave and chain loops as fast as possible, but if you cannot do that, make sure you're always listening to their audio. Never just write off juking. A well-timed juke a lot of the time can leave you in the stamina advantage and be the difference from losing a chase and making it out of it. When juking, you want to make sure you juke with purpose. You don't want to juke into a wall or a dead zone. You want to try juke towards an object you can use to get away. You also want to make sure you're not being predictable, because if you're being predictable, the killer just might wait out your jukes and then kill you. You want to make sure they're running when you're juking. If they're not running while you juke, then there's no point in doing it. They're just going to regen stamina and kill you. Also, if you have 100+ ping, using your interpolation from your ping to juke can make it a lot less reactable for the killer and make it harder to hit you while you're juking. This especially applies to double backs and direction fake arts. I have an entire video on ping compensation if you need to learn more about it. Always make sure to only use abilities when you're equal or at a disadvantage. If you're already winning a chase, popping a Bloxy Cola is just probably going to get the killer to chase reset, and that Bloxy Cola is completely undone. And when it comes down to things like slashes, a lot of the time you're going to want to do it at not the most optimal timing, because that's when the killer's going to expect it most. It's better to hit a slash than to miss a slash because you tried to do it at the very most optimal time. As said before, on loops with poor visibility, always make sure you're using audio to your advantage to track the killer's position and move to the opposite side of the loop from there. Ideally, on top of this, make sure you turn down your chase music at least low enough so you can hear footsteps when it matters. Another tactic you can do is W tapping. If you spam tap W, you can move without making footsteps yourself. Though be warned, the killer can also W tap it, leading to you not be able to hear them, so using audio as your end all be all is not going to be the best in all cases. Though on most skins of like Cruel Kid or John Doe, you can usually hear voice lines or breathing through the walls. Also make sure to only W tap when repositioning on a loop instead of when you're actually running it, because by the time you're actually running, it's pointless. Make sure you're tracking ability cooldowns the entire chase for the big abilities. When Slasher does not have Raging Pace, you can treat him like any other killer, but when Slasher does have Raging Pace, you have to make sure you always have distance on him, and or stamina. On top of this, for other killers, you want to make sure you're tracking their gamble options so you don't let yourself get gambled at the end of a chase when you're so both low on stamina. Killer specifics to the end of chases is where top level chases are won or lost. For killers like John Doe or Nosferatu, equal stamina with decent distance is generally fine. Take M1s when necessary, but you don't need a massive stamina lead to win a chase. The only caveat to this is you want to have enough stamina against Nosferatu to dodge Bloodhook if it comes down. For Slasher specifically, you want at least 30 stamina and decent distance before his stamina hits 0. Having 30 stamina and no distance means by the time he raging paces, you're basically just going to get quick dropped from there on out. Also, ideally you should try path in a ways to where by the time he's going to get out of raging pace, he can't wall slide for extra distance on you. Take M1s most frequently against Slasher because you're better off being able to survive a raging pace while I've already taken 2 M1s than taking like 3 M1s out of raging pace. For Cruel Kid, Noli 1X and 6er, you're going to want 10 stamina at the end of the chase. This is just to dodge any last ditch gambles like a last ditch walk speed override, Nova, Void Rush, Entanglement, anything like that.